Hello, everybody. It is 7 o'clock.
Okay, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint our secretary, our superintendent as acting secretary treasurer for this meeting, please.
Great. And a seconder, Trustee
Aye.
Puchin. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. So moved. Thank you. And before we begin our meeting, I would love to acknowledge that we are gathered tonight on the unceded and unsurrendered traditional territory of the Coast Tsimshian Smialek speaking people. And as an uninvited guest on this territory, I take serious my commitment to truth and reconciliation. I am of mixed heritage, settler and Indigenous blood, but I am of Métis, Cree, Anishinaabe, and Saulteaux. And so my feet and my family's feet did not walk on this land. And I am so grateful that I am able to come here and be on this land as an uninvited guest. And I would love to share that I'm reading again for the second time and getting so much more out of it, Braiding Sweetgrass. I think I could read that every year. And it's so, it's like I read a few pages and I have to put it down. It's so rich and there's so much in there. And I just, if you have the opportunity to pick it up, I encourage you. And I'm excited to read Monique's version of it because I think that would be really beneficial for me as well, which is it's interpreted through her lens for young learners. Monique Graysmith has done that. So I just would love to move on to our meeting, but I really want to acknowledge where we are situated on this beautiful Mother Earth. A motion for an adoption of the agenda.
Trustee Dalton.
Thank you. Seconder? Trustee Sanchez, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful, so moved. Oh, and we have a presentation tonight. Oh, I guess I have to pass this over to Mr. Samuel, but I'm very happy to see that Cam Hill is here with us tonight. I will pass this over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, tonight we are delighted to have Cam Hill from Hartley Bay present to us on remote learning and things going on in his school. Cam, over to you.
Hey, hello, everybody. You can all hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. First off, I just want to acknowledge the board and the trustees. You know, it's as an elected official myself for my community. And it just so happens that we are into an election mode right now, and our election will take place tomorrow night. And I just, I've done it for a number of years, and I just wanted to acknowledge each and every one of you for the hard work that you do for all of our children within the Rupert area. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And along with that, I also wanted to give a big thank you to the school district staff who makes my job a lot easier. So I just wanted to say that I very much appreciate each and every one of you for all of the hard work that you do. I think I have about 10 minutes. I don't know if that encompasses questions afterwards, but I'm going to try and keep it to that 10 minutes as much as I can. In talking about remote learning and what we call connected classrooms within our school, I really believe that to make it in an academic format, whatever shape that is, whether we're talking the fine arts, the sciences, the maths, whatever that may be, it's important for our community of Hartley Bay and the Gitga'at people to always be grounded in who we are and where we come from. Hence the PowerPoint that I have for you. These are just a few snapshots of the types of things that we do within our school over the course of the year. I quickly looked at this again before I started this evening, and I see some students that I had within our school upwards of about 7 or 8 years ago, and the majority of them are students that we have right now. But Our school regularly hosts feasts, and we mirror the feasting the feasting protocols that are within our community. And there's very many different kinds of feasts. Cockle and clam digging, I need to make sure that we always are not only harvesting and taking what we need from the land and the sea, but also using what we take, not wasting anything. Cockles and clams and shellfish were a mainstay for our people. It was a way that we were able to survive the winter months, and we get our class out just about every year to be able to go and do that. And you'll see that some of the pictures are in the daytime. That's a much safer time for me. I feel a lot better when I'm taking my students out in the daytime rather than trying to do it in the evening. But as you can see, we've also had to do it in the evening sometimes as well. Oolakins, in our language, we call it Hatli Mort, and we revere this as a savior fish. That's exactly what Hatli Mort means. I was sat down by my grandparents and my dad to tell me the significance of the oolakin and how much it meant to our people after a long, hard winter. Case in point, you see a picture of them fried there. And you see all of our students preparing them, whether we were going to fry them, whether we were going to be smoking them, or whether we were going to be using them to make grease. But one of the really interesting things about the oolakin when they first came was our people could not eat them right away. The only thing that they would do would be to boil them and to gently introduce their tummies to such a rich food again, which was the kickoff to the spring. They would just simply drink the broth and get their systems used to having fresh, rich fish again. And eventually we'd be smoking them and frying them and boiling them and steaming them. And it's just so many different ways that the oolakin has literally saved not only the Gitga'at people, but so many people up and down the North Coast. Flounder. I always look out on a day like today, and I have to apologize. I should have done that right off the bat. I was going to try and be there in person. I think that it was that was always my intention when I told Andrew and Sandy that I would do a presentation to the board. I wanted to be there. We haven't had a plane in 4 days. We've had a foot of snow every day for those 4 days. So our people are pretty exhausted from keeping it off of the boardwalks. And sometime I'm going to put an invite to the board to come down to Hartley Bay, whether it's going to be at a year-end celebration or whether it's going to be a grad celebration. You'll get a really good idea of what it means to be removing. I think we're upwards of 11 feet so far this year that we've had to remove off of our boardwalks just to get our kids to school and make it safe so that our emergency crews can get to a home or a building in the case of a fire or things of that nature. But flounder was another thing that sustained our people in these cold winter months. We still go and harvest flounder on a daily basis, and it's just such a good food, and it's just so plentiful in the winter months. And we get, again, everything that I'm showing you here today, we get our kids involved in doing, as you can see them preparing them and just being a part of the whole process. Our hatchery is a main part in our community. We rear coho, and our kids are a part of that hatchery process every single year, being a part of the egg take. But the most enjoyable part for them, as you can see the faces with the cups and the fish, is letting the little salmon go in the springtime in and around June. Baking again goes right with all of our feasting. But we take it to a whole nother level when I've got so many good bakers on my staff that we not only do in our language Clion, we do a lot of baking. Just we made apple pie just on the last day of school, last Friday, before our spring break. And that's what some of the kids are preparing here. Various courses throughout the year. being Hartley Bay is so remote that we need to, part of my job, other than just the cultural part of it and the academic part of it, is just to get the various courses into our community so that our kids are prepared for whatever the outside world is going to put forward to them. Some of the courses that you're going to see here are as a Med A3 trapping course, a carpentry course, dance, skating. The young girl in the bottom left-hand corner, that was a swiftwater rescue course, and we've also had gun used to be PAL, I think is what it was before, but gun training courses, things of that nature. SVOP was a big one that we just finished, giving our kids the criteria to be able to operate a vessel on the water. Bear viewing, people from all around the world come to see the Spirit Bear in Hartley Bay. Maybe that's something that I can arrange sometime in the fall. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there. But our resident bear guider, Marvin Robinson, always makes a point of taking our students out for a day to see the Spirit Bear. And it's a really incredible experience. I'm lucky enough to see it year after year. But having said that, there's a lot of our people that haven't seen a Spirit Bear. So our kids are very lucky to be able to do that. You always have to be in connection with our past. Old Town, Kafkiu is the name of Old Hartley Bay. Used to be one of the largest petroglyph sites in the entire world. And we are repatriating some of those artifacts right now. A lot of them were taken in the 70s and 80s. I won't go into specifics about it, but just understand that it was they were stolen. But the ones that you see here right now are ones that we still have there. If I'm not mistaken, we still have about 50 petroglyphs in our Old Town area, and we do have 4 back in our community. Kiel, a mainstay of our spring fishery and harvest. All you need to do is just take a look at the pictures. We make a point of getting our kids down there. We try and get each class down there for about a week. We do everything from seaweed harvesting to halibut fishing to all kinds of preparing the halibut walks, combining science, just a bunch of different things that we're able to do. And again, seaweed is such a mainstay of Kiel. And again, the halibut, 2 of the kids' favorite, as you can tell, just looking at their faces and what they're doing. Springtime gathering of bark. We have a really good weaving partnership within our community. We have a master weaver by the name of Pearl Innes, who's actually a Gitgat girl. She was born and raised in Hartley Bay, and she married a Kikatla fella. And she comes back at least twice a year to do weaving with our kids, bark stripping off the trees, and the kids just love it. We try and do it very close to the Christmas break so that our kids are able to give their weaving efforts to their family members or whoever they'd like. And again, just some more pictures of Pearl and her weaving, and just some of the things that our students have been able to accomplish. Medicine, huge area that we're always involved in. We utilize our elders and some outside elders to come in and teach our kids about medicinal plants and what they mean for us. And I gotta give some accolades out. Hartley Bay is going to be opening a wood shop this spring. And I need to be able to, it brings a lump in my throat. I was approached late last spring by a lady by the name of Sue Gower, who had struck up a partnership with the Construction Foundation of BC. And she remembered that my late father had always wanted to have some sort of a woodworking facility, a shop within our community that our students would be able to have as their own. nothing impromptu like getting the woodworking done on our covered deck area. We're actually going to have a shop, and it's going to be fully stocked with woodworking material. And you know, it's the gift that my dad he keeps on giving, even though he's been gone 7 years. His legacy and what he strove for still resonates in the hearts and minds of so many people that he worked with outside of our community. We struck up a partnership with them, and we're going to make this happen. So we're very excited about that. And field trips. Again, I got to go back to Hartley Bay being so remote, but it's important that we're able to show our students what the outside world has to offer. It's incumbent upon me to be able to do that so that they can make their choices in life. I simply just want to broaden their horizons and give them an idea of what's out there. Many of the pictures that you see here, some of the faces you'll recognize. We've gone as far away as Ottawa, as close as the Nass Valley. Done a student exchange with the North Shore High School. Just so many wonderful things that have happened from school to school and community to community in regards to field trips. And I think I'm just about done here. This is just some accolades of our students. So I quickly want to get on to what I was supposed to be talking about, was our connected classroom and what that means. Hartley Bay has on top of the really good partnership that we have with School District 52, we also have a really good partnership with FINESC and FNSA. Through them, we realized a number of years ago, and you guys will completely understand when I go down this path, that I, Cameron Hill, can teach anything in my mind, but am I the best teacher to be teaching that subject? No, I'm not. I understand that, and I know that. So I went, my dad at the time said, Cam, I want you to go to this meeting. It's about connected classrooms. It's going to be about remote learning. And I went to this meeting, and the light bulb went on. FINESC and FNSA have been able to utilize some of the best teachers that I've ever had the opportunity to work with in the areas of English First Peoples, maths, sciences, social studies curriculum, and it's all coming into us on a live feed through LifeSize and the usage of a smart board. If I use a math example, we could be working out a formula on the smart board, hearing our instructor in real time, that instructor hearing our kids' questions and gaining an understanding just by how they're working or the questions that they're posing. It's just been incredible for us. And I just wanted to just kind of rattle off a few of the courses that Hartley Bay has been involved in over the last 5 to 6, upwards of 7 years here. Physics 11 and 12, which we've never taught within our school. Pre-calculus 10, 11, and 12. Of course, science 10, which leads into all of these sciences. Life science, anatomy and physiology 12. Chem 11, the biology courses. And of course, English First Peoples. We were actually fortunate enough to have a lady by the name of Karen Burnham, who was right there from the inception of English First Peoples 10, 11, and 12, who helped write the curriculum for the government. She was teaching our students for the last 5 years until she finally retired. Her and mom retired at the exact same time. So it's the last thing that I'm going to say about it, because I know that I'm well over my 10 minutes, is it's not always rosy, though. I think that as an educator, there are going to always be bumps. One of the biggest things that we're dealing with right now is absenteeism. It's kind of, for me, a fallout of what happened over the last 3 years in the pandemic. It's difficult to have the kids here every day on time, and it's an uphill battle. But we are making progress. The students are making progress within their studies and their academic learning. And it's really gratifying to be able to see that. And some of the things that I just wanted to put out there for the students that have graduated within our community here. We've got a couple of RNs that are actually working in the Rupert area now, educated in Hartley Bay and staying in the north to help us out. We've got a couple of teachers as well. We've got some people working at the port, ECE, EAs, research attendants, security guards. I'm just off the top of my head, I'm still in LNG workers. There's just so many different possibilities and choices for our students to be able to make in this day and age. And the last thing that I'm going to finish off with is people look at us sometimes with a little bit of a side eye and say, well, how can you be a part of a school district and also be a part of FNESC and FNSA? And my answer to them is, we're going to take the best of whatever is offered to us. And we're going to do what our community wants and what is best for our kids. And my mom would always shudder when I'd say it, but I don't care what anybody else says. I know what my community wants and I know what its needs are. I'm a part of an elected system. I have talks with our elected council all the time, and I'm also fortunate enough to be a part of our hereditary system. I'm a Gulamaliach for Samoyed Wahmoda. So I've positioned myself to help my community the best that I can, and paving a road for our future is the way to do that. So I thank you for the time tonight. Someday I'm going to make it there to answer any more of your questions, and I really appreciate the time and support that I receive from both the trustees and the school district staff. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Cam, for that presentation. Before I say what I'd like to say, I'd love to open it up to any trustees that have a comment or a question. Sorry, Trustee Pucci.
Cam, thank you very much, and I appreciate and really like the fact you said, take the best of what is offered. And with that being said, I'd love to know how the trustees can advocate, because again, funds aren't necessarily something we can provide all the time, but how can we advocate for these type of learnings for the groups that are there? Because I see, like, again, in the flounder pictures, there's obviously a bunch of filleting knives that are going to be needed. There's a bunch of cutting boards that are going to be needed. There's like, those things are not free. They may not be uber expensive, but how can we advocate as the trustees to support your systems and your work?
I think you hit it on the head by just simply saying support. I think that an acknowledgement and the support in what we're doing goes a long way. I think that the relationship that Hartley Bay has had with school district right from its inception has paid dividends, not only of course for my community, but I think we're what I would call a real shining example of what School District 52 has to offer and help with. And I'm always talking about that with our neighbors. I get questioned a lot about how do you like working with School District 52, and I'm pure and honest. I love it. I have people that I can phone Andrew, Sandy, Roberta, everybody that was before them. I can pick up the phone and phone anybody anytime for any help, or any problems that I might be having, just some ideas, support. It is easy to do what I do, knowing that people are behind me.
Thank you for that. Yes, trustee Sanchez.
Gee, where am I? Okay. Cam, kudos to you. I am sure that Ernie and Lynn are listening to you and really thanking you for all the work that you've been doing. I'm also so proud of you, and also for your daughter who wrote that book.
Oh, thanks.
That is just wonderful. You know, having been to Hartley Bay so many times as a school trustee, and I think I did the Roots of Empathy there,
Yes.
but I've never seen a school so connected, so together. So thank you for everything that you've done. Without you, I don't think things will be going well. You're blessed, and we're so proud of you, and we're happy to have you. The only thing of it is we need to get out to Hartley Bay so that everybody could see the work that you've been doing. Thanks again, Cam.
Thank you, Louisa, and the little baby that you worked with on the Roots of Empathy will be graduating next year, Cammie.
Oh my goodness.
She's a niece of mine, and she was named after me. So, yeah,
All right.
yeah. So that's a good. Well, I guess I'm gonna about 14 years ago now. I guess something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, yes, trustee Horn.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Cam. That's a great presentation you made today. Great that I see you involved in all of what you do. You clearly bring a passion that can show to the students in what they're doing. And the fact that we see you in the pictures all the time is showing that. And your enthusiasm in how you present to us is fantastic. That presentation alone is a great resource for us
That's
to
right.
have. Right, so thank you very much for that. So we'll be able to access that whenever we need to. Love it that you're using this program that you're talking about today you've used it to get the best opportunities you could possibly have for the students, which is the idea of what you're doing. So thank you very much for doing it and putting all the effort and time into doing that. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Cam.
Thank you, James, and you just triggered something in my memory that when you said that you see me with the students, it just made me think that the trust, I guess, that I have from parents and the community, being born and raised in Hartley Bay myself, not to show my age, but I truly am teaching right now the grandkids of kids that I went to school with. And I think that means a lot to any community, to just to know that I came up and I was brought up the same way that they were. And I love Hartley Bay, and there's not enough hours in the day for me to get done what I need to get done in Hartley Bay, whether I'm talking about my job, my family, my council duties. I just love it here, and I love the people, and I love my people, and I love the kids, and I just want the best for them.
Thank you so much, Cam. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for how you advocate for your community, for all of your community. And I really want to also acknowledge how you wove your parents into tonight, which I thought was so beautiful and meaningful. And I really want to quote Roberta when she was sharing about the Indigenous Language Revitalization Day. she really brought attention to the hard work done by the people who are no longer with us. And to honor all that has been done before, and then to honor all that has done and build on top of that. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Kate. And just on a side note, things, my head's been spinning a little bit. I think the last time I talked to you guys, I was actually in the hospital in Vancouver on a weekend with my mother-in-law down there, and she's still with us, doing all right. She's back home recuperating. But I just wanted to say that a memorial, my mom on her last day with us reminded us that she had a lot of people that she worked with in the Rupert area in the school district, and she would she's so funny, she'd never tell me to, well, she always told me to do stuff, but when it was about her, she'd hint about doing stuff. And she wanted to have a memorial in Rupert. So we will be having a memorial for Mom in Rupert. I'm just trying to get that all finalized, get my mother-in-law kind of back on her feet and healing well. And I will be sure to let you guys know when that'll be. So I appreciate that.
And thank you so much for that, Cam.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's odd. Sorry, it feels odd to move into now agendas and very formal, and also to reflect on how beautiful your presentation is and the holistic learning. And I think we have ways to go there as well. And we do have to move on to approval of the minutes of 3.1 open board meeting held on January 17th, 2023.
Make that motion. Kate.
I see Trustee Meyer, seconded by Trustee Beal. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Wonderful. Thank you. 3.2 open board meeting held February 21st, 2023. Moved by Trustee Dalton. Thank you. Seconded. Trustee Horn. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 3.3 special open board meeting held February 27th, 2023. Moved Trustee Horn, seconded Trustee Pucci. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you. 4.1 to 4.9 necessity of closed meeting and agenda.
I'll make that motion, Kate.
Thank you, Trustee Beal. Seconder, Trustee Horn. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Moved. Correspondence to the board. 5.1, we have nothing. And then 5.2, copy to the board, wishes of the board.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Is that for each and every one, Trustee Beal?
They're different letters, so I'll make that motion just for that one at the time, please.
For 5.2.1?
Yes.
Wonderful. Seconder? Trustee Pucci, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 5.2.2, wishes of the board. Trustee Meyer?
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file.
Second, Trustee Horn. Wonderful. Would you like to speak to that motion?
Just to say it is, to receive and file doesn't mean that we don't necessarily not agree with what's being said. Inflation cost is escalating. I believe a motion like this will be coming to the AGM. And it is a reply letter. So it's already in the ministry's hands.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 5.2.3, wishes of the board.
Motion to receive and file.
Thank you. Trustee Dalton, seconder.
I'll second that.
Trustee Horn, would you like to speak to that motion? Trustee Dalton?
Yes, I do. I wanted to know, after reading that, it doesn't say exactly what that would look like. So that was an interesting point for me. When we're talking about
Yeah,
the gender neutral.
I just, can I speak on that? We
Please,
have
trustee
the
Beal.
We actually have had the expert in the room, which is one of our staff people here. The cost, it does involve a lot of somewhat changes. We've done it in other places and we do it at the school district, but I can understand a smaller school district just wouldn't be able to afford it with the amount that they get for their facilities grants. So although I support that they're lacking in funds, I can't support that they don't move their community forward doing the right thing. Because no matter if you've got a small budget or a medium budget or a large budget, we need to look at supporting all of our students. So I'm glad that you received a file because I can't honestly support this letter.
Can I add something?
Yes, trustee Dalton.
Darn, I'm sure it's a lot of money. What I was truly asking actually is that, what did that visually look like? Was it just one room, one bathroom, just like when you have for a family or handicap, was a huge bathroom and everybody went in there? I couldn't
We
find-
actually, sure, I would love to share. We have them at the high school. And what they look like is any washroom that you can't see in the door. And when you open the door and close it, nobody can see in, and it's just like a regular stall that you would see anywhere, and it's for anybody. If I'm speaking out and that's not what it is, please correct me, James Warburton.
You're absolutely correct.
Is there a sign on the door that has, what does it have?
Should
Nothing.
say gender neutral.
I think it's just
No.
everything, yes.
I think it's nothing there. I don't believe there's anything on the door.
And within every bathroom, there's also universal, like we call it universally accessible, so it's accessible to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. We have a motion to receive and file. All in favor? Wonderful. So moved. Thank you. 5.2.4, February, wishes of the board.
Motion to receive and file, please.
Thank you, trustee Horn, seconder.
Yeah,
Trustee Dalton. Wonderful. Would you like to speak to that motion?
No. No.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. So moved. And 5.2.5, wishes of the board.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Thank you, seconder.
Trustee Mike Pucci?
Trustee Pucci, wonderful. Would you like to speak to that motion?
Just acknowledge the fact that we're all in a state of emergency when it comes to childcare. We're all working diligently to put the right building structures in place, but at this time, I mean, as long as we lack the education out there to get people through the programs in order to secure the children to go into these facilities, we're all going to be fighting an uphill battle. So it's not like we don't support the motion, but there's no sense us all writing letters consistently. We deal with this at the BCSTA, so.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. All in favor? Receive and
Aye.
file? Wonderful. Thank you. Superintendent of Schools report. I believe Sandy Pond.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much.
6.1.1 field trips. So this past month, we've approved a number of field trips for Charles Hayes Secondary School, a trip to Smithers for wrestling zones, a trip to Smithers for half day for basketball, and then provincials in Langley for the senior team. They're actually there right now. And for PCS, today they went Oolachin fishing on the Skeena. And for Charles Hayes, approval for the trip to the drama festival in May.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any questions regarding field trips?
No.
Wonderful. Not seeing any. 6.1.2.
6.1.2 enrollment. So our enrollment is down by 8 this month. We're at 1,817. seats or bottoms in seats. We look at enrollment in different ways. So sometimes we're talking FTE, and that's more about the course load, but this is actual students. So we had a number, like quite a number of students actually move out of the district this past month. So more on that. Any questions?
Trustee Pucci?
Just for help in near future, can we just get the formula for the FTE so we understand the difference? Like, I know the difference, but like, so how the math is formulated for an FTE?
FTE would just be a full-time student is one FTE.
Oh, I see what you're saying, but they're not all students are full-time.
So there might be some that are not full-time.
Okay,
There might be
sure.
some that are more than full-time.
Okay,
So, yeah,
Okay.
depending on. how
that's
many
okay, so it's not like a. Perfect,
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah, good question.
Thank
And
you.
finally,
Yes.
6.1.3, learning, superintendent's report. So literacy was celebrated in all of our elementary schools in February, and we just wanted to highlight some things. At Conrad, for example, families were invited into the kindergarten classes for morning muffins and literacy centers. Pine Ridge Elementary celebrated with a breakfast with books, readathon for the whole school. LaPaine had a literacy week where they included literacy bingo and dressing up as a favorite character in a book that they've read. And schools also invited the Rampage hockey team to come and read with students. In February also, schools were celebrating anti-bullying and practicing kindness in the month of February, and of course on Pink Shirt Day. And the annual event at the Cole Roosevelt Community School was held, Carnival. They always have wonderful celebrations. PRMS High Energy School, if you've ever been there, there's always lots going on and interesting. The teachers collaborate to create interesting learning experiences for their grade groups, such as they've had a debate day, a drama day, and today students were preparing soup for their medieval fair tomorrow. So there's always great learning going on. Students in our schools have also benefited from hands-on learning and place-based learning, such as witnessing the Ula run on the Skeena River. And science classes at Charles Hayes are learning about the crab fishery in our region, like actually doing some statistics around it and learning about how to keep it healthy and wholesome. Charles Hayes students enjoyed 2 salad bars this month produced by their hydroponic garden, which was purchased with grant money from the Prince Rupert Aboriginal Support Society, the Reaching Home grant. And they've also been raising awareness at Charles Hayes as they celebrate Black History Month. So lots going on, like just as Pam was sharing with us, there's so much going on that we don't always get to see everything. The learning is really rich. Recently, the Honorable Rakma Singh, Minister of Education and Childcare, shared news about the Provincial Anti-Racism Action Plan. And this came from dialogue at the Provincial Community Roundtable, as well as the Minister's Youth Dialogue Series in 2022. And this plan aims to support the creation of school community conditions where students can thrive in learning environments that are anti-racist, safe, and equitable for all. This is a multi-year framework, and the plan identifies 6 priority areas that are community voice, removing barriers, raising awareness, collaborative change, capacity building, and school support. So as anti-racism efforts unfold in our school district, we'll ensure that they align with the board's strategic plan around our priorities of equity and truth and reconciliation and mental health. And then the last thing I wanted to just share before Superintendent Samuel and I wanted to share was about the new reporting order that goes into effect next year, 2023-24. School principals and staff have been reviewing what is coming for next year. And brochures will be sent home to families before the end of the year outlining changes. And we just want people to watch for more information to start with on our website, but there will be more coming out about this in the future. And that's my report.
Thank you so much for that. Any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Pond. And Secretary Treasurer's Report 7.1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 7.1 expenditure reports on page 25 and 26. Either I or Brittany Versimo can help answer questions.
James, you're not speaking, you're not asking the question.
Well,
Where do
I'm
we
displaying
stand?
the information better now, so.
Yeah,
That's getting up.
All right. No questions?
Okay, and thank you, Madam Chair, and the Operations Department report on page 27. As today is James Warburton. If you have any questions.
I do. If I could ask a question regarding transportation, the new 24 passenger inclusive ed bus, is this replacing a bus or is this now in addition to the buses that we have?
Yes, this is replacing our 2013 bus that we have. Typically, every 10 years, we get a new bus from the ministry.
And so, sorry, go ahead, Trustee Beal.
I just want to know, what are we doing with the old bus? Where does it go? And
So we've actually got, we've got an older old bus, which is our field trip bus. And that one is becoming pretty costly to maintain, so we're planning to sell that
switch
one.
one.
And then our bus that's in service right now, that will become our store bus.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, totally.
Could I ask how many field trip buses we currently have?
We have, I guess you could say 1.5.
1.5.
We have one big one and one small one.
Yeah.
And we found that our small one, which is only 16 passenger, it's not quite large enough to carry an entire team. And so we found that that one hasn't been very useful. And so we'll be, parting ways with that one.
Sorry, is the plan then, did I hear you say you'll be parting ways with that one?
Yes, we'll be.
Okay.
Just after the school year is complete this year. We want to keep it in limbo, just to be sure that we've got lots of coverage this year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions on that report? Not
Okay,
seeing
thank you,
it.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Nope, you're good. Thank you.
On page 28 is the Information Technology Department report, and in the audience today is Dinesh Gautam, who is our manager of technology. Who can answer any questions you may have.
Oh, I have a question on this. Sorry. Is there any, was it on our end why there was so many, well, not many, but there were frequent power outages at Charles Hayes in February? Was that, does anyone know why?
It was because of during the snowstorm and the wind, it was causing a lot of power outages, and to mitigate that, we're looking into supplying UPS, but some of the power outages went almost half an hour, so it was hard to keep the equipment running.
Right. Thank you so much. I understand there was power outages at, I'm just curious because I know in a couple of cases, it was just Charles Hayes and not the rest of Prince Rupert. Is that correct?
Because we're on two different grids, Kate and Prince Rupert.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions regarding the district information technology report? Yes, Trustee Dalton.
One question about the iPad purchased for the middle school from Indigenous Education and from the French program. I'm not sure what that means. Did we move them from these two programs?
No, the funding for the 10 iPads came from the French immersion program that were targeted for the French immersion students in the PRMS. And for the other for PRMS, and I believe Roberta, if you would like to talk about that, that's more from the indigenous education that came targeting to the certain languages to it.
So basically, I would be able to say there was purchase for the middle school for,
Yes.
and not from the French program.
The funding
It's
came-
targeted funding.
Doesn't mean the same thing to me, so this is
Oh.
why I want clarification. What this sentence means right now, it means that iPad were purchased for the middle school from the French program. The French program gave money. Is that what it means? The French program,
But it was for the use of French program.
Only for the
users.
French program.
that's.
That doesn't say that. It was like- yeah.
It should be for,
Yeah.
or whatever other word.
Right, trustee Dalton? Trustee Dalton, if I could offer, so 10 new iPads were purchased by targeted funding for French program for the French program at PRMS, as well as 20 iPads were with targeted funding from Indigenous Ed for PRMS. Did that clear anything up?
The word from for FOR, I got it. Good to go.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. We can move on to committee reports. Finance and Building. Trustee Beal?
Yay, yay.
Yeah.
We always love to talk about money. Obviously, Mr. Samuel and Brittany gave us a report that every board member seems to be very impressed with finally, that they can understand a financial statement. They know where we stand to date and where we're headed, which is not great, but at least we know where we're headed. And that's what makes me happy. At least I can like plan in my head how I need to spend the budget. Not have sticky dot meeting notes and saying, I'm gonna like buy this or buy that. I'm being realistic where we're going. So that in itself is really,
Huge support, yeah.
yeah, it's a step forward in a direction I've wanted to see in 14, 15 years, but hey, we got there. The second thing is I'm gonna ask you, because this is a financial question. We are going to be building a space for childcare at Pine Ridge for X amount of students, I think around 12 students. So what does that entail on your side of things? We need to build in a classroom. What do we need to do? What are we looking at?
So I haven't seen any plans for this yet, but yeah, if we just get a plan, if we need to change some water supplies or power, that kind of thing, then just give us, if you just give the maintenance department those.
The reason why I'm asking that is because I think we need to target the government for funding that is when we talk about 10-day childcare and all these things that's the government seem to have an appetite for. I think that they need to start like throwing us a few coins.
Trustee
outside of-
Beal? Sorry to interrupt, but I do believe we will be having a working session regarding this if I am, is that correct?
It was released to it's released to the public in the minutes, though. That's why when I talk about.
Wonderful.
We're going with this before we spend X amount of dollars. I think that our budget's so stretched.
Thank you. And I do want to offer if I can get Superintendent Sam or Andrew Samuel, who is not acting superintendent at the moment, but I do believe we're going to have a working session on this soon about what this will look like.
Correct, Madam Chair. Trustee Field, the idea of the working session is there's so many issues for childcare and it's moving very, very rapidly. There are briefings almost weekly from the Ministry of Education. And we have Susan Kobza is spearheading this. And of course, we want to move forward because the pressure on us to have before and after school care and daycare is very, very acute. So the Pine Ridge will be the cost to license the room is very, very, very minimally.
Okay, that's all I need to know is that watching the budget very closely these days. Okay, that's all. That's all
Wonderful.
we have for the
Thank
finance
you,
meeting.
Trustee Beal. Thank you, Mr. Warburton, and thank you, Mr. Samuel, for all of that. Framework for enhanced student learning. I'm not quite sure, Trustee Horn, if you were able to attend, or would you care for Trustee Sanchez to report?
Yes, please. I was not able to attend.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Trustee Sanchez?
Yeah, okay. We had our large framework meeting on Thursday, and it was presented by Sandy Pond. And she started by introducing ourselves and asked what we would do for the spring break. Well, we had quite a few information there. Anyway, we had about, I think it's 8 people in attendance, pretty low. The other meetings, we usually had more people, but I don't know what happened there. And in terms of, she presented an overview of the framework in terms of reviewing the data and making recommendations for 2023 to 2024. She reported on our mandate for education, which confirms a quality education system that develops educated citizens, and by supporting each student's intellectual, human, and social development and career development. She shared a pamphlet that gave information about supporting student learning in terms of reading, writing, numeracy, and the FSA assessment that can be used to help plan our education. It also provides a snapshot of how our education system is meeting the needs of our students in grades 4, 7, 10, and 12. The pamphlet also included the early development instrument known as the EDI, which is the questionnaire completed by kindergarten teachers across BC. And the questionnaire measures 5 core areas of early childhood development. So every year, BC Ministry of Education invites students in grades 4, 7, 10, and 12 to complete an online survey about their school experience. The question that we asked was, do you feel welcome in your school? And 2, are you satisfied with what you're learning at school? This came in pretty low for us. However, at school, they were learning what they wanted to learn about how to stay healthy. And at school, do you respect people who are different from, for example, what you look like, or how do you think differently or look differently? Students would then respond many times and all of the time from numbers 0 to 80%. And like I said, this was pretty low for us. The other responses were more favorable. For career development, the question was for secondary students who were in the 20 to 40% range for many times or at all of the time. Now, about this report provided an overview of the information collected by the Minister of Education in all school districts. We talked about and asked about the discussion, and we had a discussion on our priorities. And for us, our priorities would that we would collaborate with other schools. The aim is to share events that are happening. And we also discussed that the staff shortage at this time is a barrier, but we will create a document of what we're doing, because we believe that indigenous ways of knowing connects with our policy, and we can get help with intellectual development, human and social development. In terms of equality, our priority is to eliminate the achievement gap for pre-K to 12 students. And as a matter of fact, we do have work to do on this. We need to have all students reading at the grade level by grade 3. In terms of the completion rate, we commit to the improvement of the 5-year completion rate for indigenous students. We also had the Truth and Reconciliation and our priority is to strengthen our commitment to truth and reconciliation, mental health, and literacy. We know that we have paid for the price for COVID in our community. We need to build capacity for our mental health literacy for students, staff, and families, and that we're working on moving things forward. Ultimately, children are our priority, and change is a reality, and collaboration is the strategy. So we recommend that we need to do more at the discussion between the other people that were there. We recommended that we need to do more street data, and we require more of this, more listening and gathering of stories. And for mental health, children felt stressed out in classes, and in class students not feeling good about their reading. So we have to work on that. And in terms of celebration, children feel that kids have friends, and one in every four kids found that they talked to it and they were happy about that. In terms of concerns, the academics, 25% still feel unsafe in school. Teachers might not be using the script according to a member of the community. We wish the DPAC was here, they weren't. We would be able to, I think we would have been able to get more information and input. We'll make an effort to invite them both by invitation and by phone calls. In conclusion, we work to continue to pay attention to achievement and street data for Indigenous children, students with abilities and disabilities, and children in care. Student achievement is strongly connected to staff intercultural awareness and inclusion. An understanding of anti-racism, diversity, and equity is essential, and it will always be a goal. The school district continues to work with itself and with partner groups in the community and develop cultural awareness and connections. There were quite a few more, and I don't know if Sandy has any more to add, but that's what I got from the meeting.
Thank you for that, Trustee Sanchez. I see Trustee Meyer. And before we go to your question, I was just curious, was there anything else that Ms. Pond would like to add?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. I'm sure she has more to add.
Well, Louisa, I think you did a very good job of summarizing. It was a lot of information. And we did look at the framework group. One of the mandates is to look at the framework for enhancing student learning survey data. And that's the data that we collect in our district from our students from grade 1 right through to grade 12. And so we were looking at that data and comparing it to the provincial learning survey. And I think Louisa shared some things from that. But also looking at some of what we call the satellite or the map data, which is the bigger picture of, that's the data that shines on the inequities. Sometimes people don't like data, big data, but that if we don't have that, we don't see where we're falling short. So we looked at the 5-year, the 6-year completion rate, and the literacy numeracy assessments, that secondary level, and the FSA data from the grade 4s and grade 7s. So that's kind of what we focused on and connected it back, like Louisa was saying, to the strategic plans and the priorities that have been put in place through that plan.
Thank you so much. Trustee Meyer?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions, Louisa. When is the next framework meeting? Has one been set?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Sandy.
Sandy, do you know?
The next large framework meeting would be in the fall.
In the fall, okay. And then so the smaller meetings that are in between, are parents invited to that one?
The leadership team usually, no, the leadership team
Okay.
usually takes the recommendation of the large framework. And then sets the next meeting for the large framework.
Mhm.
Okay, and is it, sorry, if I can keep going.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Go.
okay. Um, if I'm remembering it correctly, because as, before I became a trustee, I went to a few framework meetings. You do not have to be a part of DPAC to go, right? It's great that DPAC goes, but I believe all parents are invited if they'd like to for the large framework.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The only thing about it, I think, and this is just coming from me, I think it would be a good thing to have the DPAC there because you'll get more information,
Right.
you know, to share more information there. Because just us, we don't have that. From getting information from parents, we might be able to get and say, well, this is what we really need, and we don't have that. So that's why I'm saying maybe we should be trying to invite them or remind them that
Mhm.
having that meeting, okay?
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea. And I
Sorry,
also
thank you,
think,
trustee
sorry.
Sanchez. No, you're fine. And I don't think your question was answered, trustee Meyer. And the question is, are any parent that's connected to the school allowed to attend?
No, I'm not sure.
I'm just asking, Ms. Pond.
Oh,
Thank you, trustee Sanchez.
I think that they would be welcome to attend, but the way that we set it up is usually we send out invitations to all of the stakeholder groups and they choose 2 or 3 people to send to the meeting. Just because of space and the kind of work that we're doing, it's very hands-on and we like to serve dinner. So it's usually a 3 or 4 hour meeting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that was one. If I can ask just one
course.
more, if I can get my train of thought back.
go ahead.
We have the questions that we ask the students. Are those questions that are specifically to our district that people in the framework have come up with, or are these provincially set questions?
I think we have, Christy, I have something here, you know, that they have questions to consider when reviewing the results. So maybe I could share this with you and it'll help you in terms of the questions. Because
Okay.
this an information was given to us to support student learning. And so, and that's when it included the intellectual development, human and social development, career development. And then it went into the reading, writing, and numeracy and the provincials. So I could share this with you so that
Okay.
you have a better idea, okay?
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Louisa.
I'll put it in the box.
And sorry, just, do you know how the questions are set up, Ms. Pond?
Yeah, the framework for enhancing student learning, the school district 52 survey, we developed the questions. The large framework group developed the questions, and every year they review them. And you know, we do a few tweaks and that kind of thing. So that's very much our survey. The school district 52 vessel survey. And I think I just want to add to what Louisa was just showing you. That information can be found at, if you just Google Student Success, Ministry of Education, BC, you'll be able to go to that website where you can look at where all of the school districts information is, but specifically Prince Rupert.
Just a question, Kate.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Meyer. Thank you, Ms. Pond. Yes, trustee Beal.
So, yeah, because it's getting conflicting now. That piece of data that Louisa's showing, I've looked at that at the ministry's site, but it almost sounded like it was being developed from that. What my understanding is, the framework's always been developed by the stakeholder group and completely based on our needs in Prince Rupert. What we see is relevant, not what the provincial government sees as relevant, because there's how many school districts, right? So I just want clarification. We are still developing our own, right?
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Any further questions? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for that report. 8.3 Provincial Council, Trustee Meyer.
Alrighty. So I took an extra long trip to Vancouver for the provincial council meeting. Extra long. There was debate in that provincial council meeting to make it virtual for next year, to meet in person at the October meeting and do virtual for the February meeting, because the way that the government is set up, they already know where the money is going by February for the provincial budget. And so motions and things like that, we don't really debate at the PC very much in the February meeting anymore. It used to be reversed. And so I have a feeling I'm not going to be stuck in Vancouver next year, or whoever the PC rep is in February. So we did get a view of, or a look at our the BCSTA proposed budget. They did have another surplus year. So our fees, even though the fees are increasing for us to be a member of BCSTA, they're not charging us for that increase. But I do want to caution people that, so I think I've been on provincial council for 3 years, and those 3 years they've increased the price, but then funded the fee increase. Sorry, my daughter's dancing in the background. You're going to get entertained while I talk. Still raising the prices. So once they don't run a surplus, I think that fee, when we have to do the fee increase, it's going to be quite a bit. So yeah, so they looked at the budget that will be passed at our AGM. It was really nothing out of the ordinary, but it is on the hub. If those of you that want to look through it, they can. I want to remind people that nominations for the BCSTA Board of Directors is, if you would like to become a director, it's due March 27th. So there is still time. Also a reminder that you can submit candidate questions. You go on the hub and go under AGM, and you could submit questions, or the weekly BCSTA newsletter that we all get. It's in there too, a quick link. I did submit one about how, if they were elected to be a director, how Voices of the North would be heard. What else? We passed 2 motions. The first motion was passed to advocate to continue the Student and Family Affordability Fund. That was a one-time funding this year. And that funding be available in September and not midway through the school year. And then the second motion that was passed was a request that the provincial government fully fund exempt staff compensation based on the new salary grids published by BCPC. I believe, I don't know if the government's announced that fully, but I believe that that's happening. So just so people are aware, for our AGM come April, there are 42 motions to be talked about. So, and that's not including like late ones that might come through. And so it will be a long Saturday and possibly Sunday morning for us. And then the only other thing that I think I'm allowed to say, I believe so, is that as we were waiting for technology glitches, I did ask Caroline Brody, who is our BCSTA president, about the new funding formula and if there was any like advancement on that. And she essentially said, since COVID, there's been nothing. So yeah, I wasn't fast enough to try to put that into the AGM as like, hey, maybe we could get it going. But just so that, you know, we're not holding high hopes for a year from now, because it doesn't sound like it's going to come anytime soon. And I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you for that report. Any questions for Trustee Meyer? Not seeing any. I will add that I've heard back from BCSTA and the motion that we put forward is there. They did a little bit more amending than what we did. It was the point that you had brought up, Trustee Meyer, about FTE and that extra line. So it now is just a really straight amendment to bylaw 9. Thank you for that. Indigenous Education Council, I will report, we met in February 28th. Our superintendent gave a fulsome report on all that is happening in the district and shared about, I believe what, I don't have the name of the, but I believe it's the grant that, or the targeted funding that Trustee Meyer just spoke of. If someone would like to give me that name again, that would be so lovely.
Parent and Student Affordability Fund.
Thank you very much. And there was discussion about how that, is that correct, Trustee? Sorry, is that correct, Andrew?
Student and Family Affordability Fund.
Yes. And so we had quite a large discussion of that, and that there will be funding, the money has been allowed to be carried over through next year. And so there was a really fulsome discussion at the table regarding that and our district. We also talked, Roberta shared really beautifully about the Indigenous Implementation Day, which was Indigenous Language Revitalization. A panel came and spoke. We had keynote speakers, and just the richness of the day. I saw a ton of pictures and a ton of posts on social media, and just how profound and impactful and really truly moving and important this work is. Using local knowledge by local people, connected to the people before them and connected to the people who will be after them, and overcoming and unlearning colonization. And then I shared Roberta's words earlier, but I thought it was so beautiful how she really paused and to honor the hard work done by the people who are no longer with us. And so much work has been done by so many before. And I just really want to acknowledge, the people that have the foresight. You know, they say that a person who has a foresight is who plants a forest knowing they'll never sit under the trees. And I just really feel that, and that's the work that has been done in this district by the Indigenous Education Department for years and decades. So really to acknowledge what happened on that day. And then Susan Kobza came and shared that she's doing a lot of work, as Andrew Samuel has shared, regarding now that we are the Ministry of Education and Childcare, and currently there is a need for 100 spaces, childcare spaces in Prince Rupert. And that is just from the data that we know. There could be people out there that we don't know of, and that School District 52 has applied for 72 spaces. And that really looking as well as all of the other components that need to go into place, early childhood educators, people who, there's a certification called Responsible Adult Training. There's courses in our district now that's connected that are early educator assistants, I believe, are the courses that support that role. And that when we're looking at seamless, full day seamless, EAs can look at training of becoming responsible adult to increase their hours so that they follow the child with the seamless day. I would offer, Roberta, if there was anything else that you would like to share from that day, or Andrew, I encourage and welcome whatever you would like to share. Thank you. Andrew? Okay. Any questions? Not seeing any. We can move to 8.5, Trustee Horn, Policy Committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion for policies for approval for 3350, acceptable use of technology policy, and 6710, record management policy.
you have a seconder for that motion? Trustee Pucci, would you care to speak to that motion?
Well, thank you.
Wonderful. All in favor?
All right.
Approved.
And as we have no policies to review this time around, that is it for the policy committee this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 8.6 District Technology Steering Committee, Trustee Horn.
We did, I don't think, Billy, we sat this period since the last meeting.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Number 9, Old Business.
There's no old business.
Thank you.
Chair.
New business?
There's no new business, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. And information items, we have 11.1, spring break is right like now. Starting Friday is the last day of school and schools are on break. Spring break is March 20th to March 31st with our students going back to school, I believe the 3rd of April. 11.2, we have Good Friday on April 7th and Easter Monday, April 10th. 11.4, ABC meeting to report back to the public on input received from community and surveys and to report on ministry funding is on April 11th, I believe at our regular time of 7 p.m. And in this regular space, correct?
Correct, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. 11.5, our regular board meeting, April 18th, 7 p.m. Booth building. 11.6, our ABC meeting. I don't know if it is ABC, but it's our meeting to approve our budget, and that's on April 20th, 2023, 7 p.m. Booth building. 11.7 is a professional development day. It's regional, so that's every school. That's on April 21st. And then at 11.8, our BCST AGM is actually, the dates here are incorrect, and it is BCSTA, the AGM is the 27th through the 30th. We have now 10 minutes for a question and answer period on anything pertaining to what was in the agenda.
Okay, we have a guest
Thank
in the
you.
audience.
Thank you.
Question.
Yeah.
Mr. Clark?
Yes, just asking a question regarding the framework for enhanced student learning. Just asking if the board would consider opening that up so that interested parents could participate.
We will take that into consideration and thank you very much for that. As the next meeting the next framework would not be happening until the fall. We would have an answer for you well before then.
Thank you.
Any questions going once?
I also have a question about the framework related to the framework meeting. A lot of surveys were discussed. I'm wondering if any of those are published, like the results.
Thank you for your question. I think the answer is no, but I'm not the expert, so I'll pass that over to Ms. Pond.
We publish the data for the purposes of looking at it, but, and some of it is published in our annual Enhancing Student Learning Report that's released in September. So if you look at that report, which is up on our website, you can see some of the data. And it's the data that we publish is actually what is requested from the ministry. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions going a second time? Questions a third time? Not seeing any. We are adjourned at 8:24. And before we leave, I would love to thank everybody who attended, trustees, all of the staff present, and thank you for people who came from the community. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening and see you in April.
Thank you.